My name is Marci Harness. Within 1 year, I've been involved in 6 corrupt cases. And the first case made me a victim of witness domestic violence and battery. My abusive ex-husband, 8 weeks later, was arrested, or 8 weeks after he was arrested, he breached our marriage settlement agreement and unlawfully was granted sole custody of my 7-year-old daughter and started alienating me immediately. Santa Cruz courts placed my daughter unsupervised in the hands of this man, again 8 weeks after his arrest, for domestic violence and battery, which she witnessed, and ordered me unjustified supervised visits. I knew something was wrong. How wrong? So wrong that the court corruption misconduct involved multiple judges, clerk of the court, attorney, DA's office, Santa Cruz police, public defender, school principal, and the after-school program, as well as CPS. Doctors and therapists were being assigned to me, as well as supervised visitor, that were all under the AFCC, CRC Father's Rights affiliates. And the criminal, actually the supervised visitor is a criminal, so I've started background checking everybody that was assigned to me by the courts. And my cases involve file tampering, conspiracy, fraud, obstruction of evidence, and more, given that the father is basically running the case. Over 20 years ago, well, I don't need to get into that, sorry. I quickly became a member of National Alliance for Family Court Justice. They're located out of Virginia. Because I realized within about 3 weeks that I was in court corruption after doing research, she taught me how to challenge the rulings of the judges and the court-appointed doctors, that I was not going to be able to find an attorney, which I have not been able to find an attorney. In addition, my ex's father's rights attorney, with her history of being suspended from the bar and attending Betty Ford and stealing from Walmart, she continues to tell me things like I'm harassing the doctors that are assigned to me by asking for their credentials. And so the case was taken off calendar last year in November. I realized my child was and is surrounded by abusers and criminals. My parental and civil rights have been violated multiple times, and in order to get my daughter back, I've had to start with discrepancies in the first case of the domestic violence, and that's when I realized there were clerical errors and are by the DA and the judge in that case, that I was the victim of domestic violence, and I was granted a victim rights hearing, given that I did not have my rights met in that whole case. The DA did not make me aware, did not follow Marci's law in honor of Marci. So I had a victim rights hearing, and all it was the judge basically saying I made it a clerical error, and my advocate was in the audience, and they were standing up blocking her. She had raised her hand to say, but this delayed her being able to get her child back, and his domestic violence showing up in family court, and it was like a football huddle around the judge. They didn't see my advocate raise her hand. And I did have an attorney for that, and it was a waste. So I just had an ex parte yesterday, and everything was denied. And the judge that denied it is the same judge that unlawfully let my ex-landlord sue me for an unlawful detainer after I've been exposed to toxic mold in my home. And that I proved was an unlawful case because I went through Department of Fair Employment and Housing. So this same judge has denied my order yesterday for an ex parte and said I need to go see an evaluator. Well, the way things were left with psych evaluators was that they were either ACC affiliated or Children's Rights, or once I asked them for credentials, they backed out. So it's back to the evaluator drawing board. However, I got copies of the case file and realized that the DA is now placing my alleged criminal case, because the father has now made me like a criminal. He somehow got a domestic violence restraining order on me, and I'm alleged criminal. Well, not according to the DA, because according to the file copy I got yesterday, they have made up a name and a case number to prosecute me, and I have that with me today.